Welcome to Wager Talk Today, Friday, June 2nd. Let's break down the world of sports and sports betting for you right here on Wager Talk TV. I'm Teddy Covers. I will be joined shortly by Steve Merrill, my co-host. Steve stuck in traffic this morning, so we'll give him a few minutes to get here. That being said, we got a great show set up for you on Friday. Ralph Michael's going to lead us off. College baseball guide, college baseball World Series recommendation. We're going to talk Northeastern and Maryland, as well as some MLB with Ralph Michaels. We're going to talk the Cardinals and the Pirates for MLB action. Andy Lang going to join us next. He's got a trio of props he want to talk about, including a pitcher I never heard of, Josh Jung. We're going to talk about his strikeouts, Red Bull double podium in Formula One, and we'll talk a little Max Strus before Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Jay Money's going to close out the show. J2 going to talk some NBA and WNBA. In What Bettors Learned, we'll talk about some overreactions from last night. And in the betting strategy segment, we have a couple of questions about the Oakland A's, one from Train Favor, one from Chris L, that we're going to get to and break down. How do we deal with one of the worst teams in MLB history? So there you have it. Friday show, locked and loaded. Let's get into it. Ralph Michaels going to be our first guest. And Ralph, let's bring him in. Welcome to Wager Talk Today. How are you on a Friday morning right here in Las Vegas? The Pen.
Great, Teddy. Appreciate you having me on Fridays, and a soon-to-be hello to Mr. Steve Merrill when he pops up.
Yeah, I see him. Traffic's a bitch. You got to deal with it sometimes.
You know there was traffic when you get the afro.
Boom.
How do you like the afro, Ralph? I'm doing 8 shows today, including we're going to pre-tape cover on it with Teddy Covers this afternoon for tomorrow. So I had to run some errands, and look, you get the afro. It's going to vary by show, so stay tuned.
You look so different like that. It really is remarkable how that little bit of a hair change changes the perception.
No, it's like Fletch, right? 6'5", 6'9" with the afro, so got to pull it out every once in a while. Ralph, let's get to the charts. Yeah, I jumped in. I apologize, guys, for jumping in late, but what do you want to start with, throughout the College World Series info?
Yeah, first let me say this. This is a guide I helped Billy Coleman do. Billy Coleman is a new capper over at Sports Memo, and it's someone I've known since elementary school. So it's one of those friends that have been there forever. When I had Cal Sports in the 90s, I was only handicapping basketball and football, and Billy was doing NHL. So I started selling his NHL plays to my customers. So he's been handicapping since the mid-90s, and he has become an expert in college baseball. Now, he handicaps college baseball throughout the year. So this segment I'm going to talk about college baseball is really, I am just a mouthpiece for Billy Coleman. The College Baseball Guide is a must grab. It is absolutely free on his homepage at Sports Memo. The shortcut, sm.buzz/BCS for Billy Coleman Sports. But you see a couple things that are in the guide. It has all the rankings from the numerous services, the preseason final rankings, the RPI records with the strength of schedule, how they did against top 25, top 50, top 100 teams, all the team batting stats and ranks, all the team pitching stats and ranks, and he has a write-up for each team. Right there, you see 2 of the conferences. There are 16 regions. Each of the top 16 seeds host these games. They are double elimination, and the games do start in an hour. So one of the plays that he has, this is actually his top 4% release. I'm giving it to you for free. It does go at 1 p.m. Eastern, so you people that are live can take an effect. So basically, Teddy and Steve, I just wanted to read what Billy has about this game in his guide that is free. It is in the Wake Forest region, so they're playing in Winston-Salem. Maryland is the 2 seed, Northeastern is the 3 seed, and Northeastern is a small dog. They have taken some money because they were a bigger dog yesterday. But I'm reading this from Billy's guide from Maryland. The Terps have been very balanced in 2023. They played well at home, going 19-8, but they played even better on the road with an 18-7 record. Maryland, however, did just go a combined 11-11 against Q1 and Q2 teams. Those are top 50 teams in the country, by the way. The Terps led the nation in runs scored, averaging 9.2 runs per game, and they were number 2 with home runs in the country, as well as posting a .317 batting average. While they've been tearing up opposing pitchers all year, the flip side is they have a team ERA of 5.94. Jason Savacool is their top starter with an EAR of 4.66, and Jason Dean follows with 5.20. Keep an eye on the total. As Maryland games, there may be no total that's too high in this College World Series. And as far as Northwestern goes, the Huskies play out of the Colonial Athletic, where they went an outstanding 41-12, and they were a perfect 7-0 in Q1 games. They swept Indiana State. They defeated Duke, this Maryland team, UConn, and Boston College. They hit 300 as a team and pounded 99 home runs, which is good for 15th. The Huskies pitching staff has been their strength. They're second in the country with a team ERA of 3.55, and they have 4 very capable starters, led by Avian Cabral with an excellent 2.35 ERA and 72 innings. Northeastern could be waiting in the weeds. Don't sleep on the Huskies. So Billy's actual 4% play is on Northeastern. That game does go at 1 p.m. Eastern.
So looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, which is the same as a Sports Memo live odds screen. Of course, you can get Billy's guide at sportsmemo.com, not wagertalk.com. But looking at the live screen right now, I'm seeing some college baseball World Series lines. Let's say you don't see them in MLB very often. I'm seeing like an $8 favorite today. This total's been bet from 13 up to 15 already. So we've seen a lot of them. You talked about no total high enough. Is this, I mean, do you do much with the College Baseball World Series? Are totals of 15 and minus 800s, is this normal? Or are we talking about something that is fairly unique to this particular region and these particular matchups?
Teddy, it's not unique because as in college basketball, all 31 conferences get an automatic bid. So you have some teams like Army that had an 11-22 record that got in by winning their conference tournament. So, it equates to a 28-point spread in college basketball. So, yes, these aren't crazy lines. Northeastern, listen, they're not a secret team. It's not like Billy's pulling something out. Anyone that follows college baseball knows how good of a staff they are with an excellent hitting team. Their strength of schedule is a little suspect. But again, they then went 7-0 against their foes. So I don't have a database to know that. I have never handicapped the college baseball game. I have bet Billy's plays in the past, and I do look at him in the College World Series and do look at situations and do bet his plays sometimes. But as far as knowing the database and where totals normally go, I can't help you with that.
Yeah, and by the way, Ralph, last week's CA tournament, Northeastern eliminated the William and Mary Tribe, so I'm not wearing I'm wearing basketball, not baseball today. Not that the basketball team was any better. By the way, William Mary had CA Player of the Year. Ben Williamson batted .398 on the season, had a 51% on base percentage. So college baseball is a great sport. Looking forward to the World Series, and it's fun to make some money while you do it. So check out Billy Coleman, sportsmemo.com. Ralph, let's talk some MLB while we've got you. And once again, the MLB show will be on today at 2 o'clock Eastern. Check back here on WagerTalk TV for MLB Talk. I'll be on the show today at 2 Eastern. But I want to talk to you about St. Louis and Pittsburgh, Ralph. I'm a big believer in offensive momentum, both good and bad. Cardinals had gone over 5 straight, and how they've gone under 6 straight single-digit hits in every one of those games. They've had 2 hits in 2 of the last 4 games. Do you trust them tonight against Pittsburgh on the road?
Yeah, it even gets worse, Steve. You look at the last 7 games, they haven't topped 9 hits in any game. 8 was their top. Pittsburgh's not absolutely crushing the ball. Yeah, they had 14 hits in that game against San Francisco when they got 9 runs. But the previous 5 games, they averaged under 7 hits per game. Very rarely do I play a system. You guys know that. We always talk about how systems and angles make a play stronger or weaker. But I'm going to bring up a system that my son brought up here last week or a couple weeks ago about rested home teams off long road trips. And this fits every box. So Pittsburgh is off a 6-game road trip. They have rest. They're a home dog, and they won the last game of the road trip. Those teams going back since 2015 have only won 32% of the time with an average line of being a favorite. Those are incredible numbers to be in a favorite. And I'm going to ask you guys something. This trend that Jeff pulled out that now I love and keep following, it is actually 16-3 if you faded that system. Do you guys think that teams now in the MLB, now that the schedule changed this year and you're playing everyone, you have people going to stadiums that they haven't been to in the last 8 years. No players have ever gone to some of these stadiums. They're making unique road trips. They're going to cities and situations they haven't been to in the year. Do you think that perhaps changes things, especially in this type of system when you're coming off a road trip and maybe it was a weird road trip and now you're back at home? But for me, St. Louis is the system play. Flaherty has pitched better, so I am going to back the system, fade Pittsburgh in this role, and take St. Louis.
So just so I understand, Ralph, you're saying that the long-term system trends are outstanding in favor of St. Louis, but the short-term trend not so much? Is that?
No, it's even gotten stronger this year.
Oh,
this year
okay,
specifically, it's 16-3. So I'm wondering if, like I wrote something up where someone went to play at San Francisco for the first time in 12 years. You know what I mean? These players have never been to some of these cities. Now that the MLB schedule has changed, they shorten the division games, and now you're playing everyone. The road trips are so much more unique than they've been in the past.
Sure, I tap the brakes to say that it's automatic. That the 16-3 is I'll call that short sample size. Not to say that it's not meaningful. Obviously, it's been a winning trend long term, and it's something I pay a ton of attention to personally. But I don't know that it's gotten stronger for this year because teams are playing in alternate venues. I want to ask you about the 2-day layoff for St. Louis. There's a couple of teams today that had a 2-day layoff, like a scheduled in 2-day layoff. I think it was Kansas City and St. Louis both. 2 days off. Which is a fairly unique scenario. The Cards haven't had 2 scheduled days off since the 1970s. Does that worry you at all? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What do you do with 2 scheduled days off in MLB?
There's nothing we could do, Teddy. I actually went to the KC paper and I tweeted this like 2 days ago, to have a scheduled day off. And it all went like this. MLB teams had an option to play on Memorial Day or not. St. Louis wanted to play, so they shifted the schedule so they had 2 days off now instead of playing with the traditional days off. They knew it was going to happen. It happened to KC like 5 years ago. They got scheduled with the opener on a weird day and then 2 days off after that. I went to the database and looked for teams that had 2 off days, but it was a case where the data wasn't legitimate because those 2 days off were back-to-back rainouts where you were looking to play, you were scheduled pitchers. It's nothing like a scheduled. So I don't have an answer to it. There's nothing I can get you historically that has any sample size, and I can't go to the database and say, only bring up teams that were scheduled off for 2 days because it isn't like that. So, hey, we're all going to learn. They knew it was going to happen. They scheduled it. To me, we've talked about this numerous times, Teddy, and just like we talked about these long road trips, I'm going to tend to think that the team that was sitting at home for 2 days, that was playing at home, all of a sudden went to the amusement park with their kids or, did things that they could never do in a normal baseball season. To me, I would lean with the road team that was in a hotel, doing team meetings, doing team dinners, and having a much structured regimen. We'll see if that's the case or not.
Yeah, Ralph, it's really an interesting spot for St. Louis. We talked about this on the baseball show when I was on earlier this week. I talked about that game. They were on a 7-game road trip. They come home without rest. They get shut out 7-0 as a big favorite against Kansas City. They played only 1 more home game, and now they're on the road again for 6 more games. But like you and Teddy said, they did have a couple days off, so it was a little bit of a homestand, even though they only played 2 games. So we'll see how that turns out tonight, St. Louis and Pittsburgh. By the way, Ralph, if you're going to be online for about another 10 minutes, I'm going to shoot you over a quick MLB trend to check for us before we get to our Bettors segment involving the Oakland A's. So I'll message you here on the side. Teddy, I'm going to get some data to back up our answers here in a little bit for the Bettors segment, the BS segment here on Wager Talk Today. But before you go, Ralph, you've got a strong 5% MLB play, but people should not buy that game tonight. Tell them why.
You know what, guys? We started a June special. It's crazy. A week at Wager Talk is $99. So if you buy 2 weeks, that's $198. Guess what? You're getting 30 days, over 4 weeks of action, not only of my service, any cappers here. Teddy, Steve Merrill, Andy coming up. Any capper, $198, 30 days, an absolute discounted start to June special. So think about it. If you're going to spend $35 on my 5% play, which you should, by the way, why not get $29 more, 29 days more for that difference in price? So, yes, I do want you to buy the 5, but I'd rather have you think about how much you're saving by getting 30 days for the 198 site-wide special at Wager Talk.
Yeah, I did some quick, Ralph Michaels, I did some quick math. Those other 29 days work out to just $5.60 a day. You pay the 35 tonight for that single play. So once again, if you're going to play more than just one day, which you should, get Ralph's 5% MLB best bet tonight. But highly think about getting it as part of that 30-day June special here that's available right now. No promo code needed. WagerTalk.com. That's Ralph Michaels, the human database, and he's going to send me over some data for our Bettors segment here in just a second. Stat Daddy, the pin, Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. Thanks, Ralph. Best of luck on your 5%er tonight. He's on a 75% run, by the way, on MLB 5% play, so not too shabby. All right, Teddy, we're going to get to Andy Lang in a little bit here to talk some additional sports, Formula One, NBA, look at Game 2. But in the meantime, let's talk about Game 1 last night. Denver Nuggets covered for me as a best bet, never in doubt. Up by 21 going into the fourth quarter, and Miami got it down to 9, which is the spread. Never got it any lower. But I'll tell you what, today, I was checking the in-game line with like 4 or 5 minutes to go. It was around 13.5, 14.5. I wasn't feeling good about it. And I was telling myself, I probably should hedge. We talked about hedging out of live bets last night. I was very tempted to think about it. But Denver was the right side. I think everybody saw their dominance. What kind of overreaction can we expect from that now?
Well, on Twitter, there was nothing but overreaction. Twitter overreactions are hilarious, dude. And I think maybe during the NBA Finals, it might be the most ridiculous of all because most people clearly haven't watched 2 games all year. Last night was a favorites night across sports. The favorites went 7-0 in baseball. They went 1-0 in the NBA. It was all chalk all the time for the books. And the reactions were, wow, Denver's good. No shit, Sherlock. The core of the team's been together for years. They have the best record in the West in the regular season. They dispatched 3 solid teams to get there. They have a 2-time MVP and a could-be MVP in Jamal Murray, and the supporting cast is brilliant. No surprise Denver is good. The other reaction is, wow, Miami doesn't look good. Oh, they're done. It's a make-or-miss league. Miami missed last night. They've been making the whole postseason. That said, the Heat have now lost 4 of their last 5. That's hard to do in the playoffs and still be alive. But let's not forget Miami will be at their most rested prior to Game 2. They played last Sunday. They played last night. Now they play this Sunday. So it's really only 1 game in a week for the Heat. In theory, they're supposed to play a little bit better than we saw last night. But the overreactions were, this series is over. Settle down. I saw those in the third quarter last night. The series is not over yet, at least in this bettor's opinion. Steve?
Yeah, and Teddy, we talked about, before the series, I think we talked on both Tuesday and Wednesday, Dave Sharapan, Arthur DeCesar, if you're going to play Miami to win the series, maybe wait until Game 2, because we all knew what a terrible spot it was for them in Game 1. That's one of the reasons I had a best bet on Denver for my clients at WagerTalk.com. It was a short rest. I did not think there would be a rust situation for Denver. Obviously, that wasn't the case either. And the thin air and altitude. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Miami can bounce back in Game 2. They get a couple days off now. By the way, NBA tip-off show today on Friday at 4:15 Eastern. I will be on with some others as well to break down Game 2 in depth. And then I plan on having a Fade the Public video for this weekend. So there will be some weekend content as well, along with Last Call on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So a lot of NBA talk today on Friday and this weekend as well here on NBA TV. And we're going to get to some NBA prop talk in a moment with Andy Lang. And Andy will actually be joining me on the NBA tip-off show at 4:15 Eastern today on Friday to break down Game 2. But Andy, before we get to some NBA Finals talk, we'll look at a little Formula One in a moment as well. But let's talk some baseball. Andy Lang, the prop master, welcome to Wager Talk today. And Andy, do you have something in baseball that has a nice little prop angle to it for Friday?
Yes, and I'm waiting for Teddy to beat me up on the follow-up question on this play because I think I left myself open to this one. Teddy, can I switch roles for just a second here on the Miami Heat and Denver? Does it concern you that Denver only made 29.6% from three-pointers, and you said it's a make or miss league? But Miami made more three-pointers. Does this concern you at all moving forward for the Miami Heat?
Yes. Denver's a better team. All right. Denver's a better team. That doesn't mean they're going to sweep. That doesn't mean they're going to cover every game. That doesn't mean they're a lock to win the series. Denver's a better team, and the fact that they didn't shoot well from three is absolutely a concern going into game two. That being said, I do think Miami will have a better game in them than what we just saw.
Agree completely. Yeah, so we'll do an MLB prop here, and this falls in the category of just taking a prop and playing it for an extended period of time. We know it's not going to hit every single night. We're just hoping to come out ahead. And so I'm looking at Josh Jung. They have his strikeout props under 1.5. So Josh Jung strikes out a lot. I mean, a lot. And when this strikeout prop is at half a strikeout, you can take the over. The books have moved it up to 1.5, and I think this is a great spot to go under. It's a little bit juicy here, but he's gone under 1.5 strikeouts in 13 games in a row. And I kind of like some of the adjustments that he's made a little bit in his swing. He went under 1.5 strikeouts in only 12 out of 25 games in April, but in May, he's gone under in 21 out of 26 games. So this prop has hit 13 games in a row if you would just blindly play it. So I see him striking out a little bit less. He's got a tough matchup today, but honestly, Teddy, I think this falls in the category, even if this doesn't hit today, you just keep playing it, and over 10, 20 games, I think you're going to come out with 60, 65% hit rate on this play.
Yeah, considering I thought you were talking about, I didn't realize you were talking, I thought you were talking about a pitcher. Oh my gosh, I don't know who. Of course, it's the Rangers third baseman. I thought we were talking about a Korean baseball or something. So yeah, I was thinking in that regard. So clearly, I got that one wrong. That said,
I can do your
explain like a 1.5 for a player strikeout prop is insane for a guy that hasn't struck out twice in a game. Like what? What do you say? 13, 14? Or he's done it once since May 11th.
Well,
what kind of juice are we laying here?
Well, this one is minus 200. That's why you're playing it small and you're playing it each game. Normally, it's at half a strikeout for this batter. The reason it's 1.5 is because he strikes out one time all the time. That's why it's this crazy number where if it's half a strikeout, you take the over. If it's 1.5, take the under because he's striking out once every game. And the reason why it's 1.5 here is the last time he faced Luis Castillo, he struck out twice. And he strikes out way more against righties than he does lefties. But again, I'm looking at this long term. I thought you were going to beat me up on Luis Castillo struck him out twice last time. That's where I thought the follow up was coming from. But I play it today at half a unit, 1 unit, and then when they lower this down to half a strikeout, you take the over and you just give what the book can take you. This guy is a perfect candidate for playing a prop over and over and over each game.
Yeah, and Andy Lang, I know you mentioned Jokic triple-double props over and over again at like the low minus money price, and that continues to hit. He barely got to that 10th rebound late in the fourth quarter last night, but yeah, Andy does very well with props in multiple sports, and he locks onto something that has an edge. It remains a little bit longer, in my opinion, in the prop market than it might in the side or total market as well, so it's something to keep an eye on. Andy, before we get to that NBA Finals Game 2 prop, let's talk some racing. Andy's an auto racing expert, both NASCAR and Formula One as well. He lives in Indianapolis, yet he doesn't handicap the Indy Series. So here we go. Let's go a little Formula One. I don't blame you, by the way. I don't either. F1, Red Bull's been pretty darn good. How do you play them this weekend?
In Formula One, in my opinion, is offering two of the best bets in all of sports right now, and that's Red Bull double podium and Mercedes double top 10. We'll do Red Bull double top podium because this track just sets up beautifully for them. Red Bull's big advantage is when they have these big long straightaways and they're at the Spanish Grand Prix, and they've already had a couple practice sessions, and Red Bull has looked great, Verstappen especially. And you see this big long stretch on the front. there's no car in Formula One that's going to keep up with Red Bull, not during the race. Last week, we saw Perez run into problems with qualifying, but that was at Monaco. It's a difficult track. It's all closed in. The Spanish Grand Prix track is wide open. Several teams have brought upgrades. They won't have anything close to Red Bull. I honestly think that Red Bull is going to run 1-2. And what's nice about this track for Red Bull is even if they slip up a little bit during qualifying, they have plenty of pace during the race to get inside the double podium. Prez messed up last week. He's not going to do it 2 weeks in a row. So you can use this as a parlay piece if you want, if it's a little bit too juicy, or you can just lay some smaller units on it. But anytime you're at these non-road course, like the non-city street road courses, just play Red Bull double podium. And also Mercedes double top 10 has hit just about every race as well.
Red Bull double podium, Mercedes double top 10. I know we talked about that one last week, Andy Lang, and I believe it hit once again. Let's talk a little NBA playoff action. Max Strus had a pretty rough night last night for the Miami Heat. What do we expect from him when it comes to game 2 on Sunday in Denver?
Well, Teddy, you said it's a make or miss league, and I think he's going to make a lot more than he did last game. It would be pretty hard to make less of him. 0 from three-pointers, 0 from the field. Listen, before this game, he was 13-5 to the over 1.5 made three-pointers. So I'm going to go back to 1.5 made three-pointers. And the last 8 times that Max Strus has had 0 made three-pointers, he's come back with 2 or more makes. So whenever he has a bad game, he tends to come back pretty strong. So it was just a really, really bad night. This is a pretty nice buy low situation on Max Strus. I don't foresee him shooting that bad from the field. And we know Miami. Miami's going to stick to the roster and stick to their players. They're not just going to tell someone to stop shooting because they had a really bad game. I think Max gets off to a nice start in next game. I expect regression back up to what he normally is, which is a pretty decent three-point shooter. So give me over 1.5 made three-pointers next game for Strus.
It's Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com, and Andy and myself will both be on the NBA Tip-Off Show at 4:15 Eastern tonight, along with Ronald Kabang, breaking down Game 2 in depth for this weekend. So check out NBA Tip-Off for some more prop recommendations from Andy Lang, the prop master at WagerTalk.com.
Can I address something in the chat here real quick? Somebody's
Yes.
somebody was bringing up like minus 200 WTF. Who was playing that? So I understand it's a lot of juice, but you don't play these at big money. I mean, when we put a play up like this, it's only for maybe half a unit, maybe 1% at tops. We're not looking to lay 5 or 6% of a bankroll on minus 200. We're looking at longevity. So the Josh Young under 1.5 strikeouts, it may seem like a lot until you realize he's done it 13 games in a row, or that this is on a 21 out of 26 game streak. So you don't have to invest a lot of money on these high juice plays. Only put a small amount on it. And again, we're looking for these long streaks. So we're not going all in on one play, one time. We play it small. If it loses, we come back and we play it again and again and again. There are streaks like this all over in the player props market. So it may sound like a lot of juice. You play it small to limit your, to limit what risk you have. But in the long term, I believe in this play, and you lay juice over a long period of time, and you'll come out ahead on this.
Yeah, and that, I thought, Andy, is a fantastic explanation for exactly the thought process. And I'm telling you, 20 years ago, I don't lay minus 200 on anything. I've evolved as a handicapper. I do it a lot more, much more comfortable with that concept now. If it should be a 3-1 favorite and you're only laying 2-1, that's what's known as a positive expectation wager, even at minus 200. Andy Lang, what do you have going right now over at WagerTalk.com? What do you have for your clients this weekend?
Every Friday, run the same promo code ANDY3, ANDY3. Get you a 3-day pass for $39. Weekends have been really good for us, especially this weekend. We've got French Open plays that are still going. We've got a Formula One race. We've already cashed a Formula One play on practice earlier today, so the weekend's off and running. We've got these props. We've got a golf tournament. We've got our NBA game coming up this weekend. So a lot of good things. Weekends seem to be when we have the most plays and when we're running the best. So use a promo code ANDY3 for 3-day pass for $39.
Andy Lang, it's a great way to diversify your portfolio with props in multiple sports that a lot of us, including myself and Teddy, do not cover on a daily basis. So it's none of the reason, as Ralph said, to get multiple cappers with that 30-day special and build your bankroll this summer at wagertalk.com. All right, Teddy, we got some interesting betting questions from the listeners and the viewers. As always, if you have a question, leave it in the live chat. But more importantly, if you possible, leave it in the YouTube comments below after the replay of the show on Wager Talk TV. We will answer them each and every day. And we got an MLB question about Teddy's future Las Vegas Athletics here in just 30 seconds after the break.
June just got better with this 30-day 190 All Access special. A 7-day All Access package at WagerTalk.com is $99, but why pay full price when you can jump on board for some summer savings? With our June kickoff special, you'll get 30 days of every play from your favorite handicapper for only $198. This comes out to only $6.63 per day to bet alongside your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days. That's right, for the same price as two $99 weekly packages, you get over 4 weeks of action. The NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, 30 days of MLB, the WNBA, plus golf, including the Memorial Tournament, UFC, soccer, and tennis. If your favorite handicap releases a play in that sport, you will get it, including top-rated 5% selections normally priced at $35. No coupon is needed, and there is no limit to the number of handicappers you can choose. Just head to their homepage and add their June kickoff special to your cart.
Still a Prez free zone into next week as well, but there's still time for BS on a daily basis. The betting strategies, Bettors segment, whatever you want to call it. But it's a great segment because you all leave great questions and keep them coming on a daily basis in the live chat and more importantly, on the replay on YouTube on Wager Talk TV. Handicapping or betting questions that you have, and Teddy and I will answer them on a daily basis. If we don't get them on the show, we'll try to answer them in the comment section on YouTube as well. This one's actually from several weeks ago, Teddy. And then we had a follow-up from a different viewer about the A's as well. So I wanted to look at it from two different perspectives. First of all, very a simple question here. It's like, would the Oakland A's have a winning record in AAA? And I actually answered this one a few weeks ago on YouTube. But the Las Vegas Aviators, actually at the time, Teddy, if I'm not mistaken, they were 23-26. So I said, of course, the A's would have a winning record because their AAA team is only 3 games below 500. But now, as I checked today on Friday, June 2nd, they're 23-31. So I think, and they've lost exactly 5 in a row since this question first came in. But yes, the A's would be a winning minor league team because their AAA team in Las Vegas is almost a 500 team to start with. Teddy, this is always an interesting question. I remember back in the 90s, I think the Clippers won 10 games one year, and there was talk, could the best college basketball team have beaten them? Pro baseball teams are obviously a little bit better than AAA teams. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, great question, Train Faber. I want to tell a story, and I was just talking a few minutes ago about stuff that I would like in my first 5 years in Vegas. Things went pretty well. All right. That's how we got into this business. And we won more than we lost, and we had success in a bunch of sports. And we thought we were on top of the world and we knew everything because we hadn't faced a whole lot of adversity yet. All right. So I'm doing radio in early 2000s. That was when USC had those incredible teams with 10, 12, 15 first rounders. And the Trojans were winning every game in college football. And I forget who the worst team was in the NFL that year. It doesn't matter. But I got a question on air, doing ESPN radio here in Vegas, about what would the point spread be if that USC team faced an NFL, the worst NFL team. And I'm like, geez, I don't know, touchdown, field goal, it wouldn't be, And multiple people talked to me after the show were like, no, dude, you're way off. The worst NFL team is going to be a 4-touchdown favorite over the best college team. They're just bigger, stronger, faster. Every player on the NFL is better, as good or better than the best player in the college ranks. When we talk about the A's versus the AAA team, it's the same story. It's a complete mismatch. All right. Oakland would be 750, 800 win percentage team in AAA. They're not that at the major league level. It is significant difference between the men and the boys. The AAA team is the boys.
Well, what's interesting about this scenario, though, I really like this question, is because a lot of these AAA guys have played in the majors and will play in the majors. There's only one notch difference as opposed to college and the pro, where half of that USC team never played pro football. But what's also interesting, if you look at the minor league standings real quick, Oakland, LA's, Las Vegas, Oakland's team is one of the worst. The best team right now in the Pacific League, 39-15, is Oklahoma City. That's the Dodgers AAA team. So it makes sense, right? If you have a weak MLB team, you're going to have weaker AAA players, where if you have a loaded MLB team, you're going to have some stronger guys having to stay at AAA. So I thought that was interesting to look at. But talking about the A's, Teddy, and by the way, the 49ers were 2-14 in 2004. So that would have probably been the worst team in the NFL. Everybody else had like 5 wins. But yeah, they'd be at least 3-4 touchdown favorite. It's a discussion I've had with Gabe Morency. We've talked about it before. It's a fun conversation to have. A's, more actionable info here. We have another nice question regarding the Oakland A's, and this one is more so, when do we look to fade them? Because obviously we're looking to fade them on a daily basis, but the line are getting high. Should we blindly fade the A's off a win? Asked Chris L. He asked this one actually in the live chat a couple of days ago on YouTube during the live show. Chris is asking Teddy, should we blindly fade the A's off a win this season?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And Ralph Michaels just posted in the database rationale for
Nice.
that. All right. Just posted some database stuff where he talked about if you're home off a win as a sub 400 squad, like the A's are a sub 300 squad. They're a sub 250 squad. Minus 13.3 ROI percentage. That's a significant loss for those teams. So yeah, I would fade them off a win. I wouldn't think about it. What do they want? Back-to-back games once this year or twice? Not very often. And until proven otherwise. Now, if they win that second game, maybe you tap the brakes a little bit. But then again, they lost it. They just won 2 in a row against Atlanta. Didn't win the third. If they win 3 in a row, I would tap the brakes. I wouldn't go broke on this trend. But 1 in a row off a win, there's dumber bets to make. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and it was interesting to me because I used that example of the Orioles a few years ago when the Orioles, like 3 years ago, were the worst team in baseball. They went down to Houston and they won 3 straight as big dogs. It would have been like a 20-1 payoff had you like parlayed it, money line parlayed it 3 games in a row. So it's always made me wonder, is there such a thing, when they're really bad, maybe they get healthy or there's some momentum. But what I wanted to see in this chart, and Ralph just sent it over to us, I used 400 or less. That's a 97 loss team. So it's basically a 100 loss team, which is usually one of the 1 or 2 worst teams in the league. Obviously, like you said, Teddy, the A's are going to be like a 30% team at best. Right now, they're hovering around 10% for the season, 20% for the season. But here's the chart from Ralph. I wanted to see the difference between off a win versus a loss because they're going to have a losing record probably all the time. In fact, if you just blindly, and by the way, we use game 55 or on because Ralph pointed this out earlier this week on Baseball Show at Tuesday that we hit 54 games this week. That's exactly 1/3 through 162 games. So we're talking about the second and third part of the season here, which is exactly where we are now. Blindly playing below 400 teams, the worst teams in the league, minus 7.3 return on investment. Playing them at home, 5.5, on the road, 9.3. So they're worse on the road, which is interesting. But playing them at home off a loss, basically break even, minus 1.1, but minus 13.3, like you said, Teddy, off a win. So, yes, definitely want to look to fade the A's off a win at home. And I really love the fact that they're a dead team in Oakland. They're moving to Las Vegas is another reason they're going to historically be one of the worst teams in history. They're not good, and they have no motivation. So the home games make a lot of sense. By the way, playing a road team off a loss is actually better than playing a road team off a win. So, Chris L., I think ideally we'll look to fade the A's at home off a win the rest of the season. Teddy, would you disagree?
I would hesitate to fade them in either situation.
Right.
Oakland off a win is a team to fade. Let's give a shout out to Will, who just put that graphic up this quick. You guys don't know about behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, Dan working the controls, Will putting the graphics together, and the entire team at WagerTalk.com. We talk about how it's a family over here. It really is. We work with great guys, and that's how we can get a question that's in Steve's head on air in 20 minutes. Well done.
Well, Steve was sitting in traffic for 20 minutes. The question popped in his head, and then Ralph Michaels put it in chart form, which I wasn't expecting. I just wanted a quick Slack message. So thanks to Ralph Michaels as well, the human database stat daddy, stepping up once again. You can follow Ralph on Twitter at CalSportsLV, at CalSportsLV. And, of course, Ralph Michaels at WagerTalk.com, a big 5% MLB best bet for Friday. All right, let's shift gears back to the NBA with Jay Money. And Jay and I will actually be talking the NBA on his show here in about 20 minutes at 1 o'clock Eastern. So I'm looking forward to that. Check out Jay Money NBA Talk on YouTube. And Jay Money is Money on Twitter as well. And Jay, NBA Finals Game 2. Teddy and I talked a little bit about it earlier. The overreaction. Obviously, Miami did not look good. The shooting wasn't good. They had, by the way, we haven't touched on this yet, Jay. NBA Finals record 2 free throw attempts. 3 was the lowest ever. That's something that concerns me because, unless Scott Foster gets the memo sooner than later, I'm not sure Miami's going to start dominating down low. But Jay, what were your thoughts on Game 1, and what are you looking at here in Game 2 on Sunday?
Yeah, what up, Steve? What up, Teddy? I'm looking at Game 2, man. I think there's going to be a lot more scoring. First off, I think the Heat will have a lot better game plan as well. We know they were coming off of Game 7, right? They were mentally exhausted. They were physically exhausted. Going to altitude, you have to get used to that. Your legs have to get used to that. We saw a lot of wide open missed threes for the Miami Heat there. I expect them to get to at least 103 points in this game. And with saying that, that means that the Nuggets are going to have to score more. We saw these guys come out very lax. The worst thing you could have happen in today's NBA is for your team to be up by a bunch of points, especially at the half. You come out kind of thinking that the game is already over. We saw them not score for the first 2 minutes of the third quarter. We saw them not score at all for the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. So the Nuggets got a little fat and happy, kind of stopped playing their game there, and the Heat just weren't scoring enough points. I think if the Heat come out here with a lot better game plan, shooting better in Game 2, which I think they will, I think that's also going to propel the Nuggets to have to keep the pace up, keep their foot on the gas as well. Like you said, Steve, there's always an overreaction after Game 1. Now everyone's going to think it's going to be slow paced, low scoring games. Heat barely getting to 100. I love Game 2 is because you actually want to go with the zigzag against what everybody just saw. I think the Heat can keep this game close, but more importantly, I like this game to go over, and I definitely expect the Heat to shoot more than 2 free throws.
I'm interested in the Scott Foster factor thing that we were just talking about in theory, because so far in the postseason, the narrative was, oh, the Suns can't win with Scott Foster. And then what happens with Chris Paul? Chris Paul never wins. And then what happened? The Suns win the game, win the series. And then I forget if he wanted the Lakers, the Warriors, whatever it was. This game's going to go 7, and it only went 6. And then the narrative was, oh, the league wants the Celtics. And Scott Foster's got Game 7, and oh, the Heat win and cover in Game 7. Mm-hmm. So all the Scott Foster narratives, these games are fixed narratives. They've all, here in the postseason, I think, been disproven, discredited. What's your thought about that moving forward? Do you think that the league gets what they want? The league obviously wants a longer series here. Do they get that? Or maybe not so much?
I'll be perfectly honest, Teddy. I don't care at all about the refs. I used to look at it maybe a few years ago. These days, it doesn't really matter. It's all about you looking at the game, you looking at the spot, looking at the previous game as well, especially when it comes to the NBA Finals. Now, we know Scott Foster can be the extender, but I wouldn't necessarily say that that he's in certain games to make an extend. And on the other end, Teddy, the refs can only do so much. If the team that they're so-called rooting for is shooting horribly, there's not much they can do. So I used to kind of think like that, but now I don't even look at the refs. It's all about me trying to figure out the game flow, and how that's going to go. I think the refs are just a little smidgen on the grand scheme of things. Yeah, there might be some games where they try to help some things out or maybe try to alter the outcome, but at the end of the day, it's a make or miss league. And if one team is making everything, the other's missing, I don't give a damn what the refs are doing. It won't really matter to the final score.
Now, we had Andy Lang come on a minute ago and talk about Miami's three-point shooting. He likes Max Strus over 1.5 3-pointers for Game 3. Now, by the end of the game, Miami had better three-point shooting, more makes than Denver did. Obviously, for much of the game, they were tanking, and then Vincent hit some threes down the stretch. Do you like that Strus prop over? And do you think Miami's three-point shooting, it's a make-or-miss league, can that be a driver for the Heat in this series the way it's been for them throughout most of the postseason?
Yeah, that Game 1 was a huge letdown spot for Max Strus. We see him posting all over Instagram and Twitter and stuff that he got let go by the Celtics. So if there was one guy that was probably partying a little too hard on the plane over there to Denver, it was probably Max Strus when him sticking it to the Celtics over there. So I do expect him to have a lot better game. We saw Caleb Martin only have 3 points as well. He may not be going off like he did versus the Celtics, but overall, I expect the Heat to shoot a lot better. That was a kind of like a takeoff game game there in game one. We saw Jimmy Butler not getting to the paint. It was really just Bam Adebayo and maybe some Gabe Vincent there. But yeah, I expect I'm not betting the -1.5, but I expect them as a team collectively to shoot a lot better from three. I think they missed some really good looks, and the altitude got to them. It takes some time to get used to.
Jay Money is money on Twitter, and you don't have to wait until 4:15 Eastern for the NBA tip-off show for more Game 2 talk, because Jay and I are going to break it down here in about 15 minutes on NBA Talk with Jay Money on YouTube. So go find that show live, and if you miss it, no worries. Check out the replay on YouTube as well. We'll put it up on Twitter also for direct links. And Jay, looking forward to what else you got going on this week and other shows you got.
Yeah, always doing shows, guys. NBA Talk with Jay over on YouTube. We're about to have our guy Steve on there, Rob Vino. Love to have Teddy maybe next week as well. Maybe some finals talk before the NBA wraps up, guys. Trying to get into a little bit more WNBA as well. Not an expert yet, but we will be doing some WNBA shows over the course of the off season, over the course of the summer with our guys Ski Profit and Ronald Kabang as well.
NBA Talk with Jay Money. Check him out on YouTube here in about 15 minutes live at 1 o'clock Eastern every weekday, and he even does some weekends as well. Jay's a hardworking man with the NBA, and he's going to be touching on the WNBA here in the near future as well. And Teddy, it was a great week of shows. Once again, if anybody missed the shows live at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, check out the replays 24/7, WagerTalk TV on YouTube. Baseball show, 2 o'clock Eastern. NBA tip-off, 4:15 Eastern, and then I'll be back this weekend with a Game 2 video breakdown, a Fade the Public style breakdown as well. So hit subscribe, hit that bell for instant alerts when the shows and videos go live here on Wager Talk TV. Thumbs like up and leave us comments below, including your handicapping questions. We'll get to them next week, every day here on the show. Teddy, enjoyed it. Tell us about Cover It with Teddy Covers. I'll be on that this Saturday with you. Give us the details where people can find that, and then take us home.
Yeah, sure. And of course, let's not forget Wager Talk Last Call, Saturday morning right here on Wager Talk TV. It'll be myself, Kelly Stewart, and many other top guests. You can check that show out right here on Wager Talk TV. You talked about Cover It with Teddy Covers. It's on Sirius XM channel 159. Saturday show, Sunday show plays over the weekend, gets replayed again later in the day. And of course, you can always download the podcast versions. One show this week with you, Steve Merrill. We also have another show talking college football with Brad Powers. That'll be a lot of fun as well. I will be missing Monday's show. It's going to be Steve and Marco on Monday. I'll be back on Tuesday. Don't you worry. Between now and then, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers.
June just got better with this 30-day 190 all access special. A 7-day all access package at WagerTalk.com is $99, but why pay full price when you can jump on board for some summer savings? With our June kickoff special, you'll get 30 days of every play from your favorite handicapper for only $198. This comes out to only $6.63 per day to bet alongside your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days. That's right, for the same price as 2 $99 weekly packages, you get over 4 weeks of action. The NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, 30 days of MLB, the WNBA, plus golf, including the Memorial Tournament, UFC, soccer, and tennis. If your favorite handicap releases a play in that sport, you will get it, including top-rated 5% selections normally priced at $35. No coupon is needed, and there is no limit to the number of handicappers you can choose. Just head to their homepage and add their June kickoff special to your cart.